Hi, it's Chris and welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me today. I thought I'd do something slightly different, and that's just share with you some of the bands and artists that I just can't connect with. Now, music is very personal, and I'm not having a go at people that like these bands or these artists at all, because I completely understand why people might like them. They're just not for me. So there's a whole bunch of artists, probably loads really, but there's a significant number of artists who are very successful that I don't really get, and I certainly can't connect with. And some of them I do have records by, which is kind of a little bit alarming in some ways, but I'll share why as this video goes on. But there's some bands that are very successful that I just can't connect with. So, for example, Coldplay. I just don't see what people see in that band. They played just up the road at Glastonbury last year, I think it was, and I watched it on the telly, and I just don't get their popularity. I really don't. And I feel the same about the Red Hot Chili Peppers and also Foo Fighters. I really don't understand the Foo Fighters at all, which may be alarming to some people. And again, this is not, slagging off other people's musical taste at all. I'm just sharing with you the bands and artists that I can't connect with. The next one is a band that's part of almost a subgenre that I can't make head or tail of really, and that's hair metal. So bands like Poison and Rat and Cinderella, they just don't mean anything to me, and I haven't got anything by them, but I have one album by one particular band, and it's been in my collection for over 40 years, and I really should just move it on because I don't like it. And that's this band, Motley Crew. And this is their debut album called Too Fast for Love, with its kind of derivative cover. It's a bit, it's a bit of a rip-off of Sticky Fingers, I always think. And I just don't like the image and the look of the band. I don't even like their name. I think that's a dreadful name, and the umlaut as well. Blois Nicole can get away with that. Motorhead can get away with that. But Motley Crue, no. This is, of what I've heard anyway, this is probably one of their better albums, but I really should move it on, and for some reason I've kept on to it. Now, I've been record collecting for a very long time, and in the 90s, where everyone was buying CDs, and I was buying CDs, but I was also buying vinyl. If you went into a charity shop here in the UK, you could pick up records for really cheap in the 90s. I remember buying 5 albums by the next artist for about 50p each. And one of the reasons I bought them is because the covers were always amazing. You got booklets and posters and all sorts of stuff, gatefold sleeves. They were really great, but I just can't connect with this guy. And it's interesting because here's another one who's played at Glastonbury quite recently as well, and it's Elton John. This is 50 years old this year. This is Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. I can't remember the last time I played this, if I've played it hardly at all. And I just can't connect with this artist. I've got about 5 albums by him. Yes, I know I should move them on. Yeah, that's a great point, well made. But for some reason I hold on to them. I'm not really sure why. I said I do like the covers, but I just can't connect with Elton John on any level, if I'm honest. Next up is a band that might surprise people. They're very, very popular, and I completely understand their popularity. I completely get it in terms of why people like them, because we've got 4 brilliant musicians producing chart-topping kind of songs and so on, but I just can't connect with them, and that band is Queen. So this is I did a video recently on albums that are, or records that are 50 years old, and this is one of them. Night at the Opera from 1975. This is the album, of course, with Bohemian Rhapsody, but I just can't connect with Queen. And when I really sit down and think about it, there's some good songs that they've done, but I just can't stand Brian May's guitar tone. I know he made it himself, and the whammy bar's made out of a knitting needle or whatever, and the fretboard is made out of his dad's coffee table or whatever. I'm just not interested. I just can't stand the tone of it, and it spoils it for me. So yeah, I'm not that bothered by Queen. I never play their stuff. I don't mind, funnily enough, Bohemian Rhapsody, but most things, if it's on the radio, I probably will change channels. The next band, I've got a couple of albums by them, and I've really tried, but I just can't get on with it. And the reason for that is not guitar tone, it's a particular instrument. And for me, there is no place for the flute in rock music. And I just don't get Jethro Tull. I just can't connect with this band. I just don't like the sound of the flute very much, and I just don't think it really fits. Now I know that this band, you know, pretty popular band, proggy. Lots of people will mention them in Final Community videos, but you know, bar Aqualung, which I don't mind, Locomotive Breath's all right, but I just don't. You know, the standing on one leg thing, the playing the flute, no, it just spoils it. Aqualung is probably the pick of their songs because it doesn't have any flute in it, I don't think. Next band is more about this album possibly, although I'm not a massive fan of this band, and this will shock people. So I love a live album. I know some people don't, but I love a live album. And if I were to do a ranking of, you know, the 50 best live albums, I wonder whether or not this album would make that 50. And this is often lauded as being one of the best live albums of all time. I just can't connect with this album. It's Live at Leeds by The Who. Now that I can hear an audible gasp of people watching this video. I just don't like this album. You know, I bought it years ago. This has been in my collection for ages. It's got all the, you know, all the little bits with it and whatever, and I like that idea, and the sound is pretty good, and but I just don't like it very much. I find The Who, I don't really listen to them, and I don't mind the odd song by them, but as an entity, as a back catalogue, no, they don't do anything for me, and this album certainly doesn't. The next band is more about the person, I think, than the band. But any band or artist who's capable of producing Mull of Kintyre doesn't get my vote. So it's Wings, and especially Paul McCartney. Now, again, this might shock a few people. I am not slagging off people who like this band. Please, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I cannot connect with this particular artist. Paul McCartney does nothing for me, I'm afraid. I don't mind Band on the Run, I don't mind Jet, but, you know, as I said, any artist that can do the frog chorus thing or Mull of Kintyre isn't going to, you know, earn my respect. So, yeah, Wings, can't connect with them at all. The next guy, there's an album I've got by him. I have got two, actually, I think. Anyway, I've had this album in my collection since the 90s. This is another of those 90s charity shop albums, you know, really cheap, 50p kind of thing. It's a double live album. And again, this wouldn't make my top 50 live albums. And I think I've come clean about this before on a video. This has been in my collection for 30 years, I would think. And I've never played it. I have streamed it, and I've tried with this bloke, but I just can't connect with him on any level at all. Van Morrison. A lot of people think this is a fantastic live album, and that's fine. It's just not for me. I just can't see why this guy has the appeal that he has. I don't get him at all. So that's another one I can't connect with. The next up, there's two more. And the next up is a band who I think are singly one of the most overrated bands in musical history. They feature two brothers who are two of the most loathsome people in rock music ever, and therefore I find it difficult to connect with them because of those two individuals. And they've reformed recently and sold tickets at high prices, you know, in an hour flat, and it's Oasis. This band do nothing for me. I was never a massive fan of Britpop. You know, I didn't get that Manchester thing at all, or any of the Britpop stuff. I didn't like Blur, but Oasis, no, they don't do anything for me. I find them quite derivative. And as I said, I don't think, you know, Liam Gallagher, is it Liam Gallagher, the singer? I think he's got an awful voice. It's nasally and drony and, you know, just awful. Anyway, the last one is probably going to upset quite a lot of people because this guy is put on this kind of pedestal. And I bought this box set for £20, which was quite a bargain, although I think I've only ever played it once, maybe twice. But I have persisted with this guy in terms of I've streamed his stuff and tried to get into it and tried to see the beauty of it and everything else. I just can't. I find this guy so depressing and so dreary, it scares me. And it's Nick Drake. And I know people will, you know, think, oh God, Five Leaves Left, Brighter Later, Pink Moon, you know, some of the greatest albums of all time. Oh, not for me. I just find it utterly depressing, dreary music. And, you know, I know that, you know, I should be able to pick out the beauty in it. This is a box set that comes with a nice booklet and the 3 albums, plus an album that's kind of a posthumous release as well, which is called Time of No Reply, which has got all the songs he recorded before his death, that weren't released during the time that he was alive. So it's quite a nice sort of box set, a nice thing to have. And they said it was only 20 quid. But, oh boy, is it ever dreary. I cannot understand why people think that this guy is that good. I'm sorry, I just can't. So there you go. I probably will lose subscribers or piss people off. I don't know. But tell me who you just can't connect with. You know, there are some bands that are never going to work with me, but there are some bands that are really popular. And I just don't understand that because I can't connect with them. So anyway, there they are. And tell me what you think in the comments below, and I'm sure I'll be back sometime with another video. Cheers.